This episode is brought to you by Pixel 2 Editions, a full-service fine art printing company. More about them later. Hello and welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, an art podcast that has it all. I'm your host, Galina Marquez, and I invite fascinating people to talk about their personal creative journeys, success stories, and inspiration. We talk about art business and marketing, how to find your creative voice, and all the new trends in the art world like NFT, AI, and such. Join me and my guest for today's conversation. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to In the Art Scene podcast. And this time I have another really cool Russian-American artist with me. Her name is Masha Kechaeva, and what she is doing is something very different. I have never seen anything like that. She's combining costume design with set design, with photography, with choreography. You can just go to her Instagram or website and see for yourself. But I am really, really curious to learn more about where she gets her ideas, because her work is very like, can you imagine taking a live person and making a very surrealistic piece of art out of it? Well, that's what she does. So let's welcome her to the podcast and give her a word to introduce herself. Hi, Masha. Good morning. How are you today?
Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Good to hear you and good to see you.
Yep. Good to see you too.
Wow, it was very interesting to hear the way you described my works. It's interesting. It's always interesting to hear when someone describes your works, I guess. Yeah.
I am really curious to hear how you would describe your work, but I want to start with the very beginning. Tell us about yourself, where you're from. I mean, I know that you're from Moscow, and I know that you have quite a background. So would you mind sharing it?
Well, yeah, I'm originally I'm from Moscow, and I right now I live in San Francisco, and I was back and forth for quite a while. So my relationship with San Francisco started in 2008, yeah, I always loved this place, and so here we are. Now I live here.
Awesome.
And,
I love San Francisco.
Oh yeah. Well, and talking about background, I originally I graduated Russian University for Humanities, and my major was in history. So then, when I was studying history, I started also studying a costume design, and I've been in costume design school for probably 5 or even 7 years, because it was a private school, and it was basically just long process of studying and in the same time working, because my teacher hired me after a couple of years to work with her on her projects. And so slowly, when I graduated university, I realized that I'm definitely not gonna work with archives or write, I don't know, historical essays or something. And for me, it was clear that I'm gonna do something with a costume. And slowly, theater came into my life. And then later on, set design came into my life. And and so that's how the transformation happened, I guess. And it never stops. It's still... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very clear that you are using your historical degree in your in the design of your costumes, because I can see very clearly the influences of some historical costumes from different cultures and different regions. So I think that, I guess the history degree was necessary for your transition after all.
It's such an interesting moment, because when I graduated and then I was doing costume design, I was so upset on these 5 years being and studying history, because I thought, oh, what a waste of time, when you really, after the school, when you have to go somewhere and study in university and you still don't have a sense. And my dream was actually to be a journalist, because I thought, oh, to be a journalist, it's so cool because you travel everywhere, you write, and it's so many, I don't know, amazing places, amazing people. What a great idea. I'm going to be a journalist. That's why I went to study history as a basic humanitarian education. But anyway, so first I was quite unhappy with it when I graduated, but and I thought I would rather go to art college or something. But later I realized how helpful it is in my practice, because I know how to find a source, and I know how to do research, and how to compare information in different sources. All of that, it was just implanted in my practice, and I started noticing it just later. And so nothing is waste of time, for sure. Everything is a process, and everything benefits, I guess.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing how we don't understand some things in the moment, and then it kind of hits you. But everything happens for a reason, I guess, right?
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. It's hard sometimes to see when you're in the moment, but later you find all these dots and you can actually connect all the dots, and you understand. Yeah.
So let's connect some dots. How did you end up at the theater?
I guess because I was doing costumes and I was into costumes, and suddenly, so I took a year off after my university, and I lived almost for a year in Thailand. And when I came back, it was 2011. Suddenly everything changed, and my crowds became so full of artists, even more. And it used to be like that, but it became, I don't know, it refreshed in a way. And many of them were into performance or into theater. And slowly, because I was doing costumes, some people started offering me to do projects with them or to create a costume for their performance and so on. And it's actually what amazed me, how the visual connects with the movement or with the speech, right? Which is what all theater is about, right? When we connect all the different media on one stage. And I think slowly I got there.
And then you started doing sets for the theater or for something else?
For the theater, yeah. I then took a set design course, I would say, in a British British School of Design.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it became also part of my life, and then it's actually it started making whole new sense for me, because when you're doing costume, you're doing just a part of the visual part of what's going on the stage. But when you're creating costume and a space, because you work very close to the director, and you create this universe that is about to happen on a stage, and it makes total sense to do both.
Yeah, I can totally see how it happens, because just recently, about a month ago, me and my husband went to San Diego Opera, and there was a premiere of the very new, it's a very new contemporary opera about Frida and Diego. And I love opera, but I had very mixed feelings about that one. But one thing in particular, the visuals, the costumes, the sets, it was so bright and so like the visual kind of told the story for me more than the music did, because music was a little bit too contemporary for my taste. But it was really, really an eye candy for me. Like I was like, wow, staring at the stage. It was really awesome. So I kind of, yeah, I kind of, I mean, I do not understand that in the way that you do, because you're obviously in the process, but I kind of get the idea of how those things will affect the performance itself. So it's really
Of course.
interesting.
Yeah.
So, and then how did you end up doing your personal practice? I'm kind of bridging the way to what you're doing now, because I'm really, really curious, because what you're doing is something mind blowing.
Thank you. Um, it's actually, I don't know, it just happened naturally.
So, were you still in Moscow when you started doing your personal projects, or?
Yeah. I think it was pretty much the same time when maybe actively from 2011. But actually, I think what we call my practice, basically everything is my practice, right? When we talking about work, but there are some projects when I collaborate with other people, let's say theater piece, right? Or making costume for someone's performance. But in the same time, my projects that I develop uh, myself, and let's say I'm looking for a crew if I need someone, I don't know, like cinematographer, or if I need performers for my performance. I think that I started investing more time into my practice just a little bit before COVID, maybe
Mm-hmm.
2017. And it's actually interesting because when COVID happened, all the projects uh, were postponed or
Mm-hmm.
canceled, right? And then I was in San Francisco and I was thinking, well, I can't even tell you how many projects were canceled. And I understand that it didn't happen just to me, it happened to the whole entire planet, right? And uh, suddenly, with this amount of time, I was able to do something mine, right? Because finally I had this time, and it's very interesting. You know, we always. I truly believe that there is never one like bad side, right? There is
Mm-hmm.
always something that um, there's a bright side of every
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
So for me, it was definitely this time that I got, and I was able to do it persistently and thinking and developing the project. So I made a movie during COVID, and it's about to be released. And I'm still doing final touch, and then some projects already aligned. So I think, that's slowly. It happened before COVID, but I think I didn't have maybe inner space or energy, or I don't know, just to dedicate all my time to that, because I was always so busy with other things, which were also very excited. But I could do a project and then not come back to some of my ideas for, I don't know, a few years, let's
Yeah.
say.
I totally understand, because COVID kind of was that time of permission for me as well, to just focus on whatever I want to do um, creatively. And I think it's actually a common theme. It's many artists are saying the same thing. Like, yeah, everything went into a grinding hold, but all of a sudden you have space and time, and um, you just got to do something with it. So there's like nothing to lose,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah.
So you made a movie. Well, I have two questions about the movie. First, when it's going to be released?
Well, right now I just did a final voiceover. I was waiting for my actress and for my amazing collaborator, who is a composer and sound engineer, to have time to be able to meet. So we just did it last week, and basically I have to synchronize the sound, and then we have to just clean up the sound and synchronize it with music, and then color correction, and that's it. So in comparison to the whole process, what was done before, it's just little, I don't know, cherry on the cake, like a final touch. And hopefully it will be ready in February, I think, because of
February.
all the holidays. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. So it's very, very soon after this episode is gonna go live. So everybody who are listening us today, if there is no link to how to find that movie in the show notes, stay tuned on Instagram, watch the stories, because I will be sharing the stories about Masha's movie. So yeah, Masha. So without giving away too much and without like spoilers, can you, in a nutshell, tell what the movie is about?
Sure. It's a journey of a character, and well, let's cut it out.
Okay, note to the editor, that part is not going into the podcast.
Well, it's a journey of a character, and it's a journey. Maybe it's a fragment of a journey when you're traveling from one state to another, and there is this space in between. I was very inspired by the idea of liminalism, of liminal spaces, and
I've never heard of that.
I will explain.
Okay.
Me neither. And what is interesting that I never heard about, it's actually my COVID research, what I was researching during COVID time. And right before COVID, actually, I started. And when I remember I was talking to my friend about this state in between, you're not in the past, but you're not in the future, and you're in this gap, and it's hard to identify. And he said, "Oh, actually, you're talking about liminalism. You know what is that, right?" And I said, "No." So liminal, the word liminal from Latin means threshold.
Uh-huh.
So there was an anthropologist who did research on different rites and rituals, and it was, I think, 1908, 1910. So he was the first who brought this term as a description of different states in human life. Basically, when you're going through transformation, for instance, pregnant woman, she is not a mother yet, but she's not a woman who she used to be before pregnancy, right? Or some, let's say, when boy turning into man, and there are some tribes that have a ritual of initiation, or many others. Basically, if we see it this way, whole our life is a liminal pie, because we are just keep transitioning from one state to another. But the quality of this state is very specific, because you totally can be lost because you can identify yourself, and you actually can't even find the category where you belong to. And this lack of understanding, this fog, this unclearance, is a blessing and a curse in the same time, because it gives you a lot of freedom, but in the same time, it takes all the connections, or all the identity, and so on. So I was doing research, and right now I would cut it out because I really want to say the name of this anthropologist. And oh my God, that's always, someone I know.
Let's put it this way. I will. So I have a section in the show notes that says links and references. So if you can send me the link to that research, or to that anthropologist Wikipedia page, I will just put it out there.
Okay. It's so hard. It's so hard not to think about it right now. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna explode right now.
It's fine. It will get back to you. It's fine.
Okay. So I'll continue then, right?
Yeah. Well, this is actually very interesting that you have done this research and the movie during COVID, because I think COVID was like a global reset. Like the entire planet went into the liminal state all together at the same time. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I think that, how sometimes we artists can feel. And I mean, I don't want to say that it's only about artists. I think it's actually about all humans. It's not that you have to be in specific field to have certain feeling that something is about to happen. I guess there is just sometimes sort of a manifestation happen in your work. You have this feeling that something is about to happen. And it's just why I said artist, is because you're doing something, and then you actually can express this sort of a prediction in your work. And what is this? Collective unconsciousness, or, something like this. But I started working on this topic right before COVID. And of course, I didn't even have a clue that something like that might happen. And it's very interesting because as soon as I started doing research on this concept of liminality and rituals during liminal time, people around me started using this word so often, and it became such a normal word right now. And before, I think I hadn't known this word. I didn't know this word before. So that's very interesting. So basically, it's a journey. It's a meditative journey of a character, and the character travels, from somewhere to somewhere. There is no actual destination. And I was using letters as a voice, as a sound. And these letters were published by Museum of Jurassic Technology in Los Angeles. And these letters were sent to Observatory of Mount Wilson in 1930s. And they're amazing because they've been sent by, regular people, not astronomers, not anyhow connected to the space topic or anything related to that. So they just regular people from different fields of life who used to have very special concerns about space, moon, Mars, and everything. And the way they describe it, it's such a level of security in their visions that it's amazing. And some of them have been to Mars, and some of them can describe how Mars houses look like, what people from Mars feel like, and they describe all their interactions with them. So it's very, very interesting. And it's also interesting that before we, had Google or any other research, internet. Yeah, I would say internet. people were writing letters, and they were sending these letters to astronomers with a message: if I die, my knowledge may die with me, so I have to share it with you. And it was also interesting that astronomers were seen as sort of connectors, as someone who connect people on Earth with something that they see through their telescope, and which is basically in space is like a place where God lives, right? And then these people assist their mediators, sort of. So it's all it felt to me that it's just such a beautiful connection with this liminal topic and this journey of journey where nothing is clear. And yeah.
Wow, that's that already sounds very surrealistic to me, which I love. Absolutely, yeah. So I will be looking forward to that movie, and everybody will just put it out there again. Watch for the stories. If there's no link in the show notes, watch for the stories on my Instagram, in the art scene, with all the underscores between the words, at in the art scene. Because I will be sharing as soon as Masha releases the movie. I'll be sharing information about that. Hey, In the Art Scene listeners, do you remember Mark O'Donnell from Pixel 2 Editions? He's been on the show in Season 3, Episode 7, and told us everything we need to know about giclée printing. And take my word for it, Mark and his team are the best in Southern California and beyond. I've been a client of Pixel 2 Editions since 2019, and I've been shouting about them from the rooftops ever since. Luckily, I don't have to do it anymore because I have a podcast. Despite being San Diego local, Mark and his team are working with some of the best photographers and artists from all states, including Clark Little and Kadir Nelson. And frankly, if you are a photographer or a digital artist, you don't need to be local to work with Pixel 2 Editions. Just use a file upload on their website for your heavy images and write down the specs. They can print small proofs for you on any substrate you want and ship them to you for free. And for my listeners, they offer a free 8x10 full image proof on metal. Just tell them that you heard about them on the podcast and they will take care of you. Let me tell you, their metal prints are amazing. Whenever I order mine, they fly off the shelves in no time. So I highly recommend you try it out. And oh, did I mention that they are a full service company? It means that they do everything from color correcting and printing to framing and shipping directly to you or your clients. So don't wait, go to pixel2editions.com, 2 is a number, and editions is plural, or call 858-549-7299. Again, pixel2editions.com, 2 is a number, and editions is plural, or call 858-549-7299. Say hi for me. How did you become a director? Because like making costumes on sets is one thing, but then seeing like a whole movie and with such complex story and a concept underneath the story, like that's, I don't know, it's a gift. So how did you, like, you saw the movie in your head?
I don't know. How did it happen? I never planned it. I don't know, really. It's just I think I'm definitely not a director who has this, it's definitely not this type of movie where every scene is planned and then like a serious set productions or a serious cost. It's not this kind of movie. And for me, what is the most delightful part of the process is spontaneity. So there is a direction, I knew, let's say, locations where we're going to shoot, and I knew the character. But in the same time, I just, I don't even know how to describe that, because I had a direction. I mapped this direction for myself. But in the end, I didn't really know what I'm doing.
So, and then everything else happened in the liminal state.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I knew that, I can't even tell you actually how did I come to this idea of making this video. I remember the moment when I was going places here in San Francisco, and I was taking photos with my friend who I asked to model me and be in a photograph, because I wanted to map this location with a character. And I was taking photos, and I was printing these photos, and then I tried to connect it all. And actually, we were also shooting in a Death Valley. And we've been there for a week in Death Valley and around Death Valley. So I think only there, when it was last, let's say, last locations of all of them, because there are plenty locations, and some of them I didn't even use in a final cut. And only then I realized that, I can see the transition, and it happened naturally. And it's just, I don't know, it's just such an amazing thing that I didn't feel pressed by anything or anyone, that I have to come up with a clear solution. And I don't have experience in directing or making movies. So I just thought, okay, that thing's how it goes. And then I have this amazing cinematographer who worked with me, and he's available, and we can shoot. And then it's just such a luxurious way of creating.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And it also reminds me, many of my guests are saying sometimes, like, it's kind of like I downloaded it from out there, from the universe. So I have a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer that. Like, if you are to do this again, would you be able to replicate the process?
Sure. I mean,
would you do another movie? Do you see yourself doing another movie in the future?
Oh, totally. Oh yeah, it's amazing. The process of creating, and it combines everything. And I love it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, awesome. Okay, we will be in touch, and for sure, I'm looking forward to it. So I wanted to circle back a little bit and talk about your other work, which is more stationary, I should say, photography, that you combine with costume design and the locations. So when I look at it, and I already said that in the beginning, it looks very, very surrealistic to me. In a very good way. Like, I'm a big fan of surrealism. It's something that is constantly kind of scratching on the surface of my like my subconscious, and like there's something in there, and I'm so hungry for that all the time. Um, how do you come up with those ideas? How do you see the vision? And some of them are have a very clear message. Some messages are not that clear. Like, for example, one that stood out to me is a white figure, almost like a nun, where the face is covered and everything is covered, and she's sitting with her legs spread out under the white gown, and she's holding a white cake with the sliver cut in the middle, and in the center of the cake there is something red. So it's kind of in between her legs, and they're like red tears from where the face is supposed to be. So those are kind of very loud speaking images, and then there are other images that are very bright and very abstract. So I'm just curious. I'm always curious about the artist process. What's going on in your head, and how do you come up with, because it's not only the costume, you come up with the image, right? It's a character, so everything represents the story of the character, the way the character looks, the props, the surrounding. So how does that happen? How does this process happen in your head, or I mean, and out of your head, obviously?
Well, mm, it varies, of course, and sometimes things can be spontaneous. Sometimes things can be planned, but in the same time, I don't even know, will it be accurate to say spontaneous, because when in the process an idea comes up, and I see this vision, I have this vision. Is it a result of some previous I don't know, inner work, or is it pure spontaneous? I'm not sure here how to name it,
Do you start with the vision, or do you start, like, for example, with the costume? Like, you have an idea for the costume, and then the whole thing kind of unravels from there, or you have a vision for the entire image first, and then you start working. Okay, this is how the costume is going to look, and these are the props that I want. So how's that? How's that happening?
um it varies really, and I think sometimes it starts with a feeling. Sometimes it starts with, oh, I just want to, I don't know, do this costume and embroidery, and then we will see where it's going to go. Um, and it's one thing to create a character, I think, and then it's another thing to place the character and find a space, surroundings for this character, because uh, it's to be in and out all the time. Because if I immerse myself into the character, into the process of creating a character, and then I won't be able to separate myself from the character, then it will be very hard to place this character in, let's say, different landscape. So to create this contrast where then we'll deliver a certain message or want, and it's also about something being not too straightforward, and being subtle in a way, because sometimes when you over explaining things, you lose the power of the message. And
Mm-hmm.
I know that also by working with my students, because I was teaching class, and actually I'm gonna restart the class in maybe in February, probably too. And I noticed that many students, when they trying to load a message in their works, um, it's interesting because they over explaining
Mm-hmm.
things through the costume, through the light, through set design, and then basically they keep forgetting that they have to leave some
Room for interpretation. Yeah.
yeah, some room for error, because the magic happens when I as audience see something, and it's my collaboration is what I see on the stage, sort of, right? That's something that it's the biggest thing that theater is about, right? Besides many
Mm-hmm.
other things that what is theater is about. But what I see being in an audience, and the way I interpret it, and it can be staged in a way, it can be planned in a way, but I as a creator have to leave room for that. And I also have this practice that I keep writing down I keep writing down things that inspire me or things that make me think or make my mind wander. So sometimes it's just a chaos of notes in my notebook. Sometimes it can be just a phrase, I don't know, someone wearing white with a red balloon. I don't know, something like this. And so then at some point I can come back and think about these phrases, or I just pin them down and I have them in my sort of archive memory. And I have a feeling that it helps me to recreate some feelings and some looks and some places later. So it's basically my visual savings, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a really cool practice. And I honestly, I personally tried that, but I never get back to my notes. But at least even the process of writing something down, it kind of solidifies the idea in your head. And it's kind of, you're right, it's like pinned. Yeah, it's a really interesting process. So where do you get your inspiration from? Like, what are the biggest sources? And I know that you described already that sometimes it's just a thought, sometimes it's a phrase that you have heard. But what is your main influence, if any?
Mhm. I think it's nature, art, movies, uh, books as well. Um, Books on anthropology a lot. Um, yeah, because you never know when idea finds you, and then when something becomes interesting. But what I noticed that I'm really into working with into playing with the scale of the objects that I find interesting. Let's say how to make a small fly. How about making a giant fly, right? How
Which is your current avatar on Instagram right now?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was my performance, and I brought this fly from Russia to New York, and I did performance on Wall Street and in Watermill Residency on Long Island. But initially, it was a performance, a 12-hour performance on the Festival Arstoyania in
Uh-huh.
a couple hours from Moscow.
I actually offline, for the editor, cut this out. I know a guy who started that festival.
But Poliski or какой? Which one?
Петр
Piotr?
Петр Виноградов. Они с Полиским вместе начинали.
Okay.
Архитектор.
Cool. Cool. That's me. That's me.
Я потом тебе расскажу историю, как мы встретились. Да.
Хорошо.
Yeah. Okay, so the editor can start from this part. So cut all the Russian off, please.
Yeah. So talking about different playing with the scale, right? And let's say, yeah, about this performance with the fly and funeral of the fly, which is based again. I'm gonna go a little bit into here that this performance was based on Slavic ritual of funeral of insects. And
I had no idea Slavic ritual like this existed. Funeral of insects?
yes,
It's for real.
For real.
Okay. Tell me more.
Funeral of insects. So, as far as I found information, this ritual was known even a long time ago, even before before Christianity.
Okay.
And before Christianity came to all these Slavic regions, right? So when people used to believe that basically pagan ritual, that everything around them are, either gods, divine, or something related to them. So there was a belief that when your relatives die, their souls transfer to a body of insects. And in many different cultures, we can find information that people used to believe that butterfly also is a carriage of a soul of someone, right? And
I can understand the butterfly, but the fly.
Right, but there was no separation. So all the insects, flies, spider, cockroaches, fleas, they were considered as these carriers of souls of relatives. And then when the fall comes, this ritual was taking place in September usually. So when the harvesting process was over and people were expecting the coming of the next season, which is winter, right? And all insects either fell asleep or die. So talking about this Slavic cosmology, when you die, you go to these lower realms or just different realms. And of course, they wanted their relatives to come back, right? And here we are talking about this circle ritual of things, this, how to say, natural, how would I put it? Cycle of life. Yeah,
okay.
Cycle of life. That would be correct. So what they did, they were organizing really fancy funeral for all the insects. They were collecting insects, and the whole village was celebrating this funeral. And they had all these criers and with the special songs. And they were even doing coffins for insects out of carrots and cucumbers and another vegetable that I don't know how to say in English, but repka.
The closest I think would be a turnip, yeah.
So they were carving them from inside, collecting all the insects, and then the whole procession was taking all these coffins and carrying them through the village, and then the funeral was taking place. And then, of course, in the springtime, all the insects
would come back.
And then, the new cycle of life, everything is blossoming, life goes on. And then what I found out that when Christianity, how to say, how would I put it correctly? When
when the Russia was baptized into the
I just don't want to put it the way that Russia, because this ritual was taking place in so many different areas. So I would just say when Christianity came to
the Eastern European region, as we know it today.
I think thank you. That's correct way to put it. The ritual stayed, but slowly it changed the meaning. And of course, we are talking here not about one day thing. It was taking hundreds of years to reshape that the ritual stayed, but changed the meaning. So people still having this in some areas. They were having this ritual, funeral of insects, but it became more about cleaning the house from dirty things, from unknown dirty things that you don't want to be associated with. You clean the house from a mess, sort of, and bury it and keep the house clean until the spring, which I found fascinating, because it seems that something that our ancestors used to build a connection and see that something around us is actually relative to us, then with a religion coming to their life, it became separated, which is here it's the whole thing about, how we work with a shadow, how we work with something that, it's hard to process for our psychic and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting, and well, that's a whole other conversation for another podcast, I think, because religion and the merge between the religion and the culture and politics is such a broad topic that it can be like a whole 2-hour conversation on its own. And in that region that we're talking about, the Slavic, Eastern European countries, as they were at that time, which is, I believe, the 3rd century, right? About 3rd century, when the Christianity came there, it was not the Western Christianity as we know it here in the States. It's the
10th century.
it's the 10th century, or it's the Orthodox Christianity, which came from Byzantine, and it was actually a political act. It was not because it was the right thing to do, or because it was better for people. It was a political act. It came from a political marriage, and so and that's true, because the Orthodox Christianity in Greece exists in the more original form. In Slavic countries, it kind of got mixed up with the pagan traditions that some of them exist even today. So the welcoming of the spring and all of that stuff. Yeah. So that's fascinating. I've never heard of funeral of insects, and it's actually kind of brings me to a thought that there's something really right about pagan traditions. I feel like our ancestors before religion, before Christianity, kind of had a connection with the nature around us a little bit more like closely than we do now. I mean, we can have another episode and talk about that. Actually, I would really love to do that, because I've done some research on that topic, but not the anthropological, more like a psychological research. So it would be really interesting to compare the notes. So we actually at the top of the hour, and I had another question for you. You mentioned that you were teaching, and I was really curious to hear about your course and what it is about, when it starts. And I believe that by the time this episode is on air, we will be able to put the link in the show notes so people can sign up for your course.
Oh, sure. So I did this during COVID. I did this class. It's Introduction to Set and Costume Design. And it was very interesting and new experience for me. And the goal is to introduce basic tools of creating set and character for your idea. And people who usually take my class, it's photographers or artists from different genres. And it's very crafty class, because I'm talking a lot how to work with different materials. But at the same time, I introduce some basic concepts of theater and how to work with illusions and how to recreate and how to actually visualize your idea and how to do the research process. And so it's 7 weeks, because then I'm giving 2 weeks for the final assignment, and there are assignments. And every week we have these group meetings, and I also have one-on-one sessions where I have this 30 minutes call with every student. and it'd been amazing. I just had to make a break because of me moving to San Francisco and have a lot going on. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe after New Year, I will have, January as a time to prepare again. And then in February, I will launch another one. Yep.
Well, awesome. It sounds really interesting. And it's kind of a, and again, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself because why not? It kind of happens to me on this podcast in the very interesting way that I tend to interview people about certain topics, and I have no idea like that's the first time we meet. We never met before, right? And I only know about your work from your Instagram, from your website, so whatever is publicly available, right? And then all of a sudden we're talking about things that I kind of am either thinking about making or researching or whatever, and it happened on multiple occasions. In the same way. It's kind of like my guests on the podcast are bringing a message from the universe to me. It's like, yes, you're on the right path. So I might be interested in this class. So the reason I'm saying that, I might be interested in that because I am thinking, I'm slowly moving into making art objects. Like I'm usually painting mostly with acrylics, but lately I've been interested in making things. And I'm kind of, started with the little tiny ones because I have a little tiny 6 months old crawling around the house, so I don't have much time and space to do bigger things. But I do have some ideas, and yeah, I would probably benefit from your course for sure. So I will be looking forward to it. So I hope as everybody else. This is December, as the beginning of December we're recording this. This episode is going to be a part of season 6, which is right about the time when the course is going to, or at least sign up for the course is going to be live. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. Check the show notes. Go to Masha's website, so where are you going to be publishing all the information? So how can people find you? I will put all the links in the show notes, but I just want you to say that out loud.
I think Instagram is the best way to connect or to follow. And usually I announce the next course there, or that's the place where I share any of my works.
So what's your Instagram handle?
It's Masha Kechaeva.
Can you spell it?
Oh, sure. It's MASHAKECHAEVA. One word. Yep. And I will be with all the rest of the links. And yeah, I will think what else I can share after our conversation.
Yeah, I feel like 1 hour is not enough. I always feel like 1 hour is never enough. But to avoid making this podcast like way too long, I kind of have to cut it off at 1 hour. But we will be sharing everything, and I'm pretty sure that we will have Masha come back to the podcast at some point.
Oh, that's lovely. I'd love to.
Awesome. I'll be happy to. All right. Thank you so much for being with me today. Any last words of inspiration for the new year, because that airs at the beginning of the new year, so maybe like lots of people are looking for the new inspirations. So something you want to say?
Oh, I just I'm looking forward for a new year, and I hope that we all will be in peace. That's my my desire and my my light in the end of the tunnel. I would say.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I suggest that we all who are listening today, let's just manifest the peace, because that's we all know what's going on, so it's really ugly.
Yeah. That's the biggest inspiration for me, that Ukraine will be in peace and the war will stop. So, but besides of that, I keep creating, and that really helps me and inspires me. My practice and keeping it day by day, no matter what, that's the biggest source of inspiration for me. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, again, thank you for taking your time today. And we'll see you again in the art scene. It has been another episode of In the Art Scene podcast. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a good review on Apple and go listen to other great stories. Check out our website intheartscene.com or follow us on Instagram at intheartscene for more content. If you are a creative and you want to share your story, shoot us a message from the website or DM us on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you next time in the art scene.